Through you. The mission for SABC is largely driven through the platforms, the three major platforms, which is radio, TV, and digital. From a radio perspective, the SABC has a healthy share of listenership across 18 radio stations, and of course the 19th one being Channel Africa, which is run by the SABC on behalf of the Department of International Relations. And that's in 7 languages, which includes Portuguese, Swahili, as well as French. And that has a listenership of about 28 million people, which is on average about 72% of the population. Television remains the medium of choice for most South Africans. At the moment, the SABC is managing 7 TV channels, and 5 of them are your linear channels on analog, and 2 of them are on DTT, which currently is being radiated through dual elimination. And we have a total of about 29 million South Africans who are engaged on that platform. The new platform that we're focusing on is the digital media platform. And here we're not only speaking about digital terrestrial television, but a huge focus is in the online space, specifically through the internet, which includes video, podcasting, and streaming. And I'll touch on that briefly. I just want to touch on the delivery of the strategy and the cornerstones of the strategy for SABC. If you look at the television channels as well as radio, most of the audiences are moving away from appointment listening or appointment viewing, and they tend to want to watch or consume content anywhere and everywhere, and therefore there's a huge focus on ensuring that we move rapidly into the digital space. And in order to do that, we are enhancing our internal capacities and agility to produce those kinds of platforms. And I'll touch on what we've achieved through a robust strategy. Most of this is geared really to transform and innovate the media environment to ensure that more South Africans are connected through any medium, anytime, everywhere that they want to in South Africa. In order to do that, or in order for the SABC to reposition itself, it has to focus on 4 major areas. And the first area, of course, moving to being the preferred broadcaster. The way that it does that is to ensure that it is accessible anywhere, everywhere. Most of the SABC can actually be accessed on your phone today through the news app, as well as a partnership of an OTT app, which has been quite an achievement through the strategy that's been implemented. We focus on plurality. That means inclusive of all South Africans in all the 4 corners of South Africa. There's a focus on ensuring that the business environment is conducive for competitiveness, so we lobby regulations, specifically sport, the must-carry regulations, and ultimately to ensure that we maintain interest for all South Africans. One's got to ensure that your content is relevant. We focus a lot on being the preferred employer. There's a huge focus on people, and I got to admit at the moment, with the infrastructure that we have in the SABC, we tend to be failing some of our people, particularly in the buildings that we house them in, but there are plans to ensure that we overcome that. There's a refocus in our strategy on becoming the preferred brand. Each radio station has been re-energized on their brand, so that the whole operational structure and objectives are geared on the brand, and also brings efficiency into the way that we operate in the environment. I want to go now over to the strategic pillars, and we have 7 strategic pillars within the SABC, and I'm not going to go into all of the detail.
How many slides do you still have?
1. All right. Okay. I'm not going to go into all the details, so I'm just going to summarize up the 1 slide. I'm just going to go to that slide. I'm just summarizing the slide that you see at the moment, which is the strategic pillars that the SABC focuses on to achieve its strategic objectives. The first objectives the CFO will speak about, which is the financial stability, where she'll focus on or conveying the initiatives on cost savings, revenue opportunities, investment and cash flow. I think I've touched a bit on the initiatives around content and platforms, particularly in the digital space. I want to touch particularly on digital and 4IR. From a digital perspective, the SABC has been voted the best digital news app over the election period. In its first few weeks of existence, it had 25,000 people download the app. I brag because it's one of the most unique apps that exists in Africa, where you can watch the SABC live. You can also listen to all 18 radio stations. There's been a lot of talk on whether the SABC's moved to OTT. Yes, the SABC is on OTT. We've partnered with a company called View. So the flagship programs like your Zalo and Scheme Song are readily available to be watched on catch-up online. So we've made significant progress in that area, and most of that's been done through cost-effective savings in other areas of the business. Sorry. And Mavango, Chair, definitely. We're also moving into the digital space, not only in providing access for our customers to get access to SABC content via online services, but we're also moving into the digital space in the operations of the SABC business. And here we're talking about how we facilitate our processes within the SABC, particularly reviewing robotic processes. Hopefully we can also reallocate staff into other areas of the business, perhaps to generate revenue. We're also focusing on getting our people to be digital natives, where they interact with the SABC through digital. They can review the policies through digital. And a lot of our finance processes are already on digital. All of these, of course, will converge into big data systems, artificial intelligence, with the main aim of the digital pillar to ensure that our operations become effective, that we become predictive, and we can make quicker decisions within the SABC. The SABC also has one of the largest digital assets of any technology company in Africa, and that's done through about 18 websites and about 5 credible, good apps. And those apps and websites are now becoming interlinked to each other, so that we can start gaining more information about our customers' behavior, and ultimately that translates to a more cost-effective organization, and also presents opportunities where we can get additional funding models for the SABC. From a human capital perspective, we're also, as I mentioned, trying to get our staff to become technologically innovative in the way that they interact with the SABC. We're looking at innovative ways to do training. Just because you don't have the necessary funds doesn't mean you can't train your people. And the way we're doing it is the 4IR way, where we have 2 innovative areas to focus on: online training, which is extremely cost effective, and it also trains people in becoming effective digital natives as we go through the 4IR evolution. We're also looking at effective ways of also managing our staff costs through the operating model for natural attrition, effectively managing contracted workers, So there's a huge focus, and part of that is what the CFO will talk about, but a lot of that is also contributed to the savings that the chairman was talking about. I'm not going to touch or go deeply into governance because the chair's touched on that. I just want to touch on partnerships. There's a lot of effective partnerships that the SABC is focused on. A lot of them I can't talk about today, although I'd like to because they're so exciting. But it's really there to enhance the experience for our audiences, and some of them we are being assisted by the Minister and the Ministry. Thank you, Chair. I now hand over to our CFO, who will be talking about the finances.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and members. Just before I talk about the APP of the